Big inhale through the nose. I want to talk to you about range of motion. And before we start that conversation, I want to just make it perfectly clear that if you are injured, this is not a video full of recommendations for you. If you are having acute pain and have the inability to move your limb in question, then please do not take my advice. Don't apply what I'm talking about. Go see a doctor or someone who is licensed to address your needs. This is more from a training perspective. This is more from a reclaiming the usage of your body perspective. This is also a conversational element that isn't involving a diagnosis or a treatment. So that being said, range of motion, we tend to become, I think it's when we get too clinical, we get too cynical. Meaning if you say, well, the average human being should be able to flex their hip to X number of degrees. Well, great. That's because they took a bunch of people into a lab, stretched them, put them into a position, measured that, and then that became an agreed upon normal, which is fine for diagnosis and for a clinical perspective. And we need that stuff in order to have baselines, and it grounds our conversation, right? That being said, your body is your body. Everybody's built a little bit differently. And of course, you're going to fall within that normal curve. It's unlikely that if you're watching this, just based on statistics alone, that you're an outlying freak. So if you're saying you don't have range of motion, or you don't believe you can achieve full range of motion, I want you to consider the fact that the range of motion you have is what you have, and it's probably pretty close to what would be considered normal. Now, to improve your range of motion, and to improve your range of motion, you need to explore the ends of what you have, right? So we know that a good overhead position is a lot like hanging from a plumb bob. If you're able to grab onto a set of rings or a pull-up bar and hang, doesn't have to be your full body weight. Your feet can still be touching the ground. But if you release into that hang, we know that, like a plumb bob, your body's going to kind of assume a straight line. And that would be a pretty good way to approximate full overhead range of motion or position. Now, in that activity of putting your arm up like that, you're going to find that you might get there might be something that's tight or get stuck. And that's what you need to improve in order to improve that range of motion. So again, you go to touch your toes. Some people can put their hands flat on the ground. Some people can put their head between their knees. Some people can't even get past 90 degrees. We all start from our own place, and we need to work out of the range of motion that we have available to us, and then make improvements at the ends by exploring the end range of motion. I hope that makes sense. Again, it's not clinical. It's basically saying, in no uncertain terms, it's your body, and you need to figure out how to use the damn thing. I'm sorry, but that is, at the end of the day, that is the reality. I'm here to tell you that that's exactly what I have done, and I have achieved greater than average results, right? I'm not an Olympian. I'm not a competitive athlete, but at the same time, put me up against your average human being, and I'm going to do all right. So that's the point. Think it over. Give me some feedback. I'd be happy to address more specifics.